European trade routes to the New World. England, France, and Holland were also interested in the New World. They too wanted to find trade routes to the Far East and establish trading posts in the Americas. Yet none of these nations dared to openly challenge the Spanish at sea. They couldn't sail into the waters of the Caribbean Sea and the Gulf of Mexico, known as the Spanish Main. Spanish America to the south was completely closed to them. Once Spain lost interest in most of North America, other European countries felt free to explore there and to claim land for themselves. Early maps of the Western Hemisphere showed Japan and China very close to the west coast of North America. Many European explorers believed that there was a northern sea route, a passage through North America, to the Orient. Since John Cabot Giovanni Caboto made his first voyage for England in 1497, there had been great interest in the idea of this northwest passage. Once Portugal and Spain had routes to the Far East, other nations were anxious to locate a passage in the north for themselves. After Cabot's voyages, both France and Portugal sent fishing fleets into North American waters. The Portuguese founded a small fishing village on Cape Breton Island, Nova Scotia, in about 1522. Despite the harsh climate, the plentiful fish offered great reward. In 1524, the French sent Giovanni da Verrazzano, an experienced Italian seaman, to explore the North American coastline. Near North Carolina, Verrazzano sighted what he thought was a large inland sea, a possible beginning to a passageway. This Oriental Sea was probably Pamlico Sound and was not a sea at all. All the route crew members were often sent ashore to trade, and sometimes small boats filled with friendly native peoples would come out to meet the ship. These mainly peaceful encounters seem to have been the first contacts between Europeans and these groups of Native Americans. Unfortunately, Verrazzano and other explorers often captured some of these people to take back to Europe as curiosities. Giovanni da Verrazzano. From the Carolinas to Maine, Verrazzano noted every detail of the trip. He wrote of good harbors and fertile farmlands, of fresh lakes and streams. He gave detailed, colorful descriptions of the people he called Indians, finding most of them approachable and helpful. Verrazzano and his crew were the first Europeans to view the Hudson River, New York Bay, and Cape Cod. The French kept all of this useful information to themselves, as they did not want other countries to profit from Verrazzano's voyage. Word of his Oriental Sea somehow leaked out, though, and for many years other explorers searched vainly for this non-existent passage to the Orient. In 1534, France sent Jacques Cartier on the first of 3 voyages to search for a northwest passage in what is now Canada. With the help of native guides, he was able to reach the sites where Quebec and Montreal now stand. Cartier and his party traded ideas and information as well as goods and supplies with the Hurons, Micmac, and other native peoples. Although Cartier explored 1,000 miles into the interior and claimed new territory for France, he discovered no passage and found no gold or jewels. Disappointed, the French gave up their efforts in North America for 60 years. Over time, the real riches of the North, lumber, furs, and fish, would prove to have greater value than the gold and silver of the South. By about 1560, England, France, and Holland all had large sailing fleets and wanted to be able to trade freely around the world. But trading was still limited by Spanish and Portuguese control of sea routes and important ports. At first, these countries tried to coexist peacefully at sea with the Spanish and Portuguese, but they were challenged at every turn. They were afraid that open defiance would lead to war, so they began to defy Spain secretly by smuggling goods into the smaller ports, avoiding Spanish ships and authorities. The routes of the slave ships. John Hawkins was one of the English captains most active in smuggling goods into Spanish ports. Plantation owners along the coast of South America were eager to deal with him for the supplies they wanted. Thousands of laborers were needed to run the plantations. At first, the owners had used Native Americans as slaves, but these workers soon died of starvation and disease. Hawkins and other European merchant captains found a way to provide the slaves for the Spanish plantations. On their way to the New World, they began to stop along the African coast, where they picked up large numbers of unwilling voyagers.